3 shocking truths about the Trinity. No one ever talks about discover the hidden meanings now. The sun set behind the ancient cathedral, casting long shadows over the cobblestone streets. Unseen whispers rolled through the air, carrying secrets that had been buried for centuries. What would happen if you uncovered the forbidden truths lurking in the language of faith? The truth about the Trinity wasn't just doctrine, it was a mystery teetering on the brink of revelation. The air crackled with tension. It was as if every stone, every fragment of stained glass, held its breath, waiting, the first truth. Legend had it that the original manuscripts of the Bible contained hidden symbols, not mere letters, but codes shielding secrets from those unworthy to see. The moment Sarah, an unsuspecting historian, stumbled upon one such manuscript, it felt like the world shifted beneath her feet. The ink seemed to pulse, imbuing her hands with a strange energy. She squinted, her heart racing as if she could feel the vibrations of the truth surging through her veins. What had she unearthed? A path to enlightenment or a ticket to madness? As she delved deeper into her discovery, odd occurrences began to unfold. A light flickered in her attic, one moment it was bright, the next, darkness engulfed her. Echoes of voices whispering incomprehensible prayers filled her ears, a symphony of despair and hope. Family portraits shifted on their walls, their painted eyes watching her desperately, as if warning her of dangers that lurked ahead. Sarah felt a tightness in her chest, like a balloon ready to burst. A knot twisted in her stomach. Was she unleashing a force best left undiscovered? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Back in the cathedral, the air thickened with anticipation. As Sarah watched, candles flickered wildly, as if caught in a turbulent wind. The shadows danced, forming silhouettes that seemed to beckon her closer. She felt a pulse in her veins, a call she couldn't ignore. Drawn to the altar, she raised the manuscript, its pages quivering. What would she find behind the veil, waiting just out of sight? With a sudden crash, a secret door burst open, revealing a hidden chamber. Was it destiny or doom? As she crossed the threshold, time froze, the whispers grew louder, drowning out the chaos outside. With each step, she trembled, heart pounding, eager yet terrified of what lay ahead. Why had the Trinity been shrouded in mystery? Was it truly sacred, or had it been twisted into something unrecognizable? What was she about to learn that could change everything? The answers loomed before her, tantalizing and dangerous. The chamber was dimly lit, the flickering candles casting elongated shadows that twisted and turned like restless spirits. As Sarah stepped inside, the heavy wooden door creaked to a close behind her, sealing her in with the echoes of the past. Her heart raced, each beat resonating with an urgency that felt both electrifying and terrifying. The air was thick with dust, the smell of aged paper mingling with something sharp and metallic, like blood. She squinted into the darkness. Shapes emerged: a stone altar, piles of ancient texts, and peculiar symbols etched into the walls. It was as if she had crossed into another world, one where time stood still, where secrets awaited her unraveling, but something more than mere curiosity drove her forward. As she approached the altar, she noticed an emblem shining faintly in the darkness, a trio of interlocking circles. Her breath caught in her throat. This symbol, she recognized, mirrored the very essence of the Trinity. What had been hidden for centuries was now laid bare before her eyes. Suddenly, the walls began to hum, vibrating with a frequency that sent chills down her spine. The sound grew, swelling into a deep resonance that rattled the air around her. In that moment, Sarah understood, she was not alone. It was as if the chamber itself had awakened from its slumber, eager to share the truths it had harbored for so long. She reached for the first of the ancient texts, its cover worn and frayed. As she opened the book, the whispers returned, swirling around her, shifting in tone from haunting to urgent. Phrases echoed in her ears. The fathers of faith knew the true essence of the divine lies beyond confusion, and dread settled in her gut. This wasn't just history. It was a warning. Sarah read on, her pulse quickening as she deciphered the coded language embedded in the manuscript. The words spoke of three entities, yes, but also a dark force that thrived in misunderstanding and division. Each word she absorbed felt like a flame igniting in her mind, illuminating the shadows of doubt and fear that had plagued her for years. Then everything came crashing down. A loud bang erupted behind her. She whipped around, instinct screaming that she wasn't alone. A figure loomed in the doorway, shrouded in darkness. Their features were indistinct, but the menace radiating from them froze Sarah in place. "Step away from the altar." The figure commanded with a voice like gravel, rough and unyielding. "You have no idea what you're meddling with." Terror washed over her, but a defiant spark flared inside her as the scroll slipped from her fingers and unfurled on the ground. Without thinking, she lunged for it. The knowledge within that text could hold the key to understanding the very nature of the Trinity and the danger it posed. The figure moved swiftly, blocking the path, preventing her escape. Panic rose in her throat, thick and suffocating. What had she uncovered? A truth that could illuminate her life or shatter everything she held dear. "Fools dare open the truth," the figure hissed, their voice a chilling reminder of the stakes at hand. "You don't know what you're risking." As they drew closer, shadows swirling around like storm clouds, Sarah felt the manuscript's power hum through her. All or nothing, but before she could react, the chamber shook violently, as if responding to the clash of powers at play. In that chaos, a voice resonated louder than the rest, a deep echo that penetrated through her fear. "The moment has come to choose." Heart pounding, she faced the figure, ready to confront whatever truth awaited, but what choice would she make? The flickering light dimmed, leaving only shadows and uncertainty that gnawed at the edge of her mind. What would happen now, in this realm of revelation teetering on the brink of chaos? The tremors coursed through the chamber, and Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The figure loomed closer, a silhouette against the wavering light. Time stood still. She had learned that knowledge was power, but what if that power was lethal? "Let me through!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the frantic energy swirling around them. "I need to understand." The figure paused, hesitant. Their dark cloak shifted, revealing a glimmer of something metallic, a dagger, glistening wickedly in the candlelight. Her heart raced as she weighed her options. They stood between her and potential revelations or the abyss of ignorance. "You don't want to know," they rasped, the urgency in their tone laced with dread. "What you seek is not meant for you." Sarah squared her shoulders, the weight of fear mixed with a fierce determination that propelled her forward. "And if I walk away now, what happens then? These truths will remain buried, and the world will suffer for it." The figure's laugh was a bitter sound, echoing off the stone walls. "You think you're here to save the world? You're just a thread in a massive web you can't begin to comprehend." Suddenly, the scroll pulsed at her feet, the symbols lighting up in a vibrant glow that filled the chamber with an eerie luminescence. The air crackled, igniting something primal within her. It was as if the scroll was beckoning her, inviting her to dive deeper into the secrets it held. "Get away from it." The figure lunged, arms outstretched, but Sarah sidestepped, her pulse hammering in her ears. She felt the power of the manuscript thrum beneath her fingers, a vibrant energy that challenged the very laws of her understanding. In that moment, everything shifted. The ground quaked, and shadows danced wildly against the walls, twisting into forms that flickered like phantom apparitions. Whispers intensified, swirling around Sarah, filling her mind with fragments of wisdom from ages long past. "Sarah," the voice murmured again, this time more insistent. "The choice is yours. Understand the Trinity's true purpose, or face the darkness." "What darkness?" she breathed, instinctively stepping back as the figure advanced, their menacing presence making the room feel trap-like and suffocating. "You think you can just uncover the secrets and emerge unscathed?" They sneered, their confidence wavered only by the chaos surrounding them. The choice is never just yours to make. But all she could feel was the urge to uncover it all, every truth buried beneath layers of control and fear. Each heartbeat thudded like a war drum, the answer lay within her grasp, then, with a final surge of courage, she lunged for the scroll, grabbing it tightly with both hands. The world around her exploded in a blinding light, as if the chamber had cracked open to the very fabric of reality. No! The figure yelled, but their voice was drowned out by the swirling energy around her, a vortex of sound and vision that threatened to pull her under. As she stood at the threshold between knowledge and oblivion, she felt the shadows pulsating around her. The echoes of the past, the weight of the massive secret at her fingertips, pressed against her resolve. What would she see on the other side? Could knowledge shield her from the darkness? And what lay beyond the veil of this revelation? Just as the light began to coalesce, an image flickered in her mind, a terrifying vision of worlds colliding. Choose wisely. Echoed the voice one last time, piercing through the chaos, a chilling reminder of the perilous road ahead. As the energy enveloped her, Sarah realized that she had willingly stepped into a battlefield for the soul of humanity. But she had no idea what lay ahead, or the price of knowledge she was about to pay. Would she be ready for the truths that lay beyond? Yet more questions loomed, as the chamber sank into darkness once more. The darkness swallowed her whole, a void that felt both confining and liberating. Sarah struggled to breathe as flashes of light flickered in and out of her vision, each pulse throbbing with an energy that was both intoxicating and terrifying. Sarah! The voice pierced the fog, reaching her like a lifeline. It was a familiar sound, but distorted, echoing endlessly as if bouncing off unseen walls. The fears of what she might discover twisted in her gut, making her stomach churn. Unsure of what to do next, she reached for that flickering light. The instant her fingers grazed it, memories flooded in a kaleidoscope of images from different worlds. She saw a city in flames, a cry for help echoing amidst the chaos. Moments of jubilation juxtaposed with despair unfolded before her eyes. Each scenario was a warning, each one unraveling pieces of the truth that the figure had so adamantly tried to keep from her. Stop! She shouted. The worlds collapsed in on themselves, the images blurring into darkness once more. But this time she felt a pull, a connection to something greater. The silence that followed was deafening, leaving her alone with her thoughts and tremors of uncertainty. Then, a whisper seeped through the dark, as ethereal as smoke. The Trinity is not what you think. It isn't just a path to knowledge, but also a carrier of shadows. Before she could comprehend it, the cold edges of the chamber enveloped her. Sarah stood amidst crumbling stones, the air thick with dust that tickled her throat. The scroll floated before her, an anchor in this fractured reality. Still glowing, it seemed more alive than ever, pulsating as if begging her to unlock its secrets. "What are you?" she asked, her voice quivering from a mix of fear and awe. A surge of energy cascaded around her, transforming into a translucent image of the figure still cloaked, but now more shadow than flesh. "You have entered a domain of choice, Sarah. Each truth you uncover can shift the balance of everything. Beware of what you seek, for the light often casts the darkest shadows." As it spoke, the walls shuddered, the floor trembling beneath her feet. "Choose wisely," it repeated, the urgency in its tone sharper this time. Sarah felt it, a tugging sensation deep within her, the innate need to know clawing at her. But the figure's warning echoed endlessly in her mind. What if knowledge led to devastation? The weight of possibility, heavy and pressing, made her hesitate. "Every secret holds dual meanings," it continued, its voice distorted, layered with urgency. "The Trinity is fundamental to both creation and destruction. Discover your truth, and a choice will follow, a choice that may cost you everything." Against the burgeoning chaos, a chilling thought settled within her. What if she wasn't just investigating these truths? What if, in trying to save the world, she became its downfall? At her fingertips, the scroll pulsed, demanding her attention. She felt as if she stood on a precipice, teetering between the known and the unknown. Would she dare to open it, to unleash whatever horrors lay trapped within its pages. Fighting the nausea threatening to overpower her, she took a deep breath, steeling her nerves. "Show me," she whispered, clenching her fists around the scroll. A rush of air swirled around her, and the chamber erupted in a blinding light once more. What awaited her on the other side? Would she find salvation or face oblivion? As the light surged, making her skin tingle with both fear and exhilaration, she could feel herself slipping further down the rabbit hole of destiny. But as the radiance enveloped her, another voice broke through the chaos, a familiar voice filled with warmth, a warning but also a promise. Was this truly her journey, and could she accept the price that came with it? "Sarah, don't forget every choice has its price." As the words faded into silence, she stood on the brink of revelation, heart racing with uncertainty. What truths were hidden within the scroll that could forever change her destiny? And would she be brave enough to embrace them? The light pulsed around her, wrapping her in a warm embrace that then turned searingly cold. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, anticipating the worst, a primal instinct warning her of damage ahead. As the blinding glow enveloped her, her heart raced, synapses firing with the fear of the unknown, shadowy figures dancing in her mind. When she finally dared to open her eyes, the chamber was gone. Instead, she found herself standing in an expansive courtyard framed by towering pillars that seemed to touch the stars. The air shimmered as if reality were a fragile illusion. Intricate murals on the pillars depicted scenes she recognized, the swirling chaos of the city she glimpsed before, familiar faces pleading for help, moments of joy swiftly overshadowed by despair. "Welcome," the figure said, materializing beside her once more, its form shifting like a mirage. "You have unlocked a fragment of the Trinity's true essence. But know this, every revelation comes with weight." Sarah felt the ground tremble slightly beneath her feet, like the pulse of a living creature. "What do you mean?" she asked, a knot of anxiety tightening in her throat. "What is this place?" "This is the nexus and intersection of all possibilities," the figure replied, its voice echoing in the cavernous space. "Here, you will confront the three truths of the Trinity, each one a key to understanding what is at stake." Truths? Panic rose within her. What if I can't handle it? What if I can't? Face your fear, Sarah. The only way forward is to confront what you dread. The figure gestured toward the center of the courtyard, where three glowing orbs floated in mid-air, each casting a hue that flickered between light and darkness. You must touch each orb, and only then will you be ready to choose. With every heartbeat, the air thickened, vibrating with anticipation. Sarah swallowed hard, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She stepped forward, the ground shifting with her movements as if testing her intentions. She hesitated before the first orb, brilliant blue with swirling patterns that seemed to dance like flames. What does it hold? She breathed. Survival, the figure said, its tone grave. This truth reveals the desperate lengths one will go to survive and the consequences of those choices. Drawing a breath, Sarah reached for the orb. The instant her fingers brushed its surface, a surge of memories enveloped her. She found herself in a crumbling building, gasping as flames encroached around her. She saw herself, no longer just an observer but an active participant. Screaming voices of loved ones echoed through her mind, and she felt their desperation. The primal urge to save herself kicked in, overriding compassion and empathy. As she yanked her hand back, her heart raced with the knowledge of what she could become. The orb shimmered, pulling away, as if mocking her. Frightening, isn't it? The figure mused, calm amidst her storm. The duality of survival versus sacrifice. Sacrifice. Her chest tightened with dread, reality settling in. It was more than facing the truth, it was a reckoning. Resolute, she turned to the second orb, a deep crimson, vibrant and pulsing like a beating heart. And this one? Destruction, it replied, the gravity in its voice intensifying. To know this is to face what is lost, what you might have to destroy to uncover more truths. With uncertainty anchoring her, she extended her hand. Touching it unleashes an eruptive energy, visions flooding her mind. She saw herself standing amidst ruins, making choices that shattered lives. A laughter of betrayal echoed, and the faces of friends dulled. Each decision birthed darkness, leaving desolation in her wake. "Stop!" she cried, wrenching her hand away. It was a mirage she could hardly bear. What if her quest for truth demanded destruction? Indeed, the figure said softly, offering her a lingering look imbued with understanding. There was something more. She felt the air grow heavy with unspoken fears. But there is one more truth, it continued, directing her to the last orb. This one glimmered with vibrant greens and golds, a serene harmony beckoning from within. This is the promise of renewal, it whispered, the hope that can stem from understanding all that has come before. As Sarah stepped toward it, an unfamiliar warmth filled her chest, a spark of courage amidst chaos. Could this be the salvation she yearned for? With trembling fingers, she reached for the orb, caught between fear and hope, not knowing what awaited her. "Will you embrace the promise and the price that follows?" The figure's voice trailed off, echoing faintly around her. The moment hung in the balance, a point of no return. What would she uncover this time? And would she survive the revelations? In that instant, with the last orb glowing brightly, Sarah stood on the brink of unfathomable truth, heart pounding with an urgency that was almost unbearable. What awaited her on the other side? And could the promise of renewal truly outweigh the costs of what she had already witnessed? Sarah hesitated, her fingers trembling inches from the glowing orb. It pulsated softly, as if sensing her fear. The vibrant colors swirled within it, a kaleidoscope of hope and pain, teasing her with the possibilities it held. She could almost taste the promise of renewal, tantalizing yet terrifying. Taking a deep breath, she plunged her fingers into the warmth. The moment she made contact, a rush of energy surged through her, electrifying her senses. The world dissolved around her, replaced by a serene landscape filled with lush forests and cascading waterfalls. A golden sun bathed everything in a warm glow, and for a fleeting moment, she felt peace, but that peace was soon shattered. The serene backdrop flickered like a faulty screen, transforming into chaotic scenes, the laughter of children replaced by wails of despair, the bright sun swallowed by ominous clouds. She stood in the midst of an overwhelming tide of memories that consumed her. "Sarah," a whisper slithered through the air, morphing into the melodic voice of her younger self. She saw herself playing in a park, her knees scraped and her heart full of innocence. But then the vision twisted, morphing into a scene drenched in shadows and fear, her parents' faces contorted with worry, a looming darkness wrapping its fingers around them. No. She recoiled from the orb, terror flooding her veins. This isn't real. Reality is often not what it seems, the figure said, its voice echoing like a distant thunderclap. This is the bond of renewal, a cycle of pain and healing, joy and sorrow. To understand the promise, you must confront what you've lost and the beauty that remains. Her breath came in quick gasps. Each vision clawed at her heart, memories of moments she wished to erase. The fear that she could end up like those shadowy figures, lost in the pain, weighed heavily on her chest. "But I don't want to relive it," she gasped, her voice trembling. Anguish and hope collided within her, creating a storm that threatened to engulf her. "I can't. I want confrontation is your path forward," the figure insisted, the calm unwavering like a lighthouse in a storm. "Embrace the pain to heal, embrace the darkness to find your light." With a surge of defiance, Sarah looked around. She was surrounded by flashes of her life, the love, the laughter, the heartbreak. But at what cost? The words slipped from her lips, raw and pleading. "What does it mean to sacrifice my past for the present?" The orb flickered, casting shadows that danced ominously across the ground. "Every choice carries weight. Only by acknowledging your truth can you begin anew." Before she could respond, the visions swirled faster, crashing over her like waves. She saw herself standing before loved ones, offering forgiveness while they stood before her, riddled with fear and regret. When did it become a struggle to find the strength to forgive? She squeezed her eyes shut, holding back tears. What if I can't forgive? She cried out, feeling like she was being pulled apart inside. With a gentle surge, the orb flared brightly. Then you remain entrapped in despair. Her heart raced, every pulse echoing the stakes. It was more than about her, it was about those she loved, those who had their own battles to face. The torment, the surrender, it all hung in the balance. This was the moment for clarity, but the horizon remained obscured. Will you step forward? The figure urged, forcing her to confront the bubbling emotions within. Will you choose to rise from the ashes, or will you let the darkness swallow you whole? As the last shards of light erupted from the orb, illuminating her surroundings with hope and dread, Sarah faced the choice laid before her. Could renewal be worth the sacrifice? And deep down, was she even ready to uncover her own truth? The answers loomed like a storm cloud overhead, dark and foreboding, as the echoes of her past beckoned her to leap into the unknown. Caught in a whirlwind of emotion, Sarah gazed into the orb, the swirling chaos reflecting the turmoil inside her. The weight of her decision settled on her chest like a pile of stones. She knew she had to act, yet the unknown loomed ever larger, threatening to engulf her. As if sensing her hesitation, the orb pulsed again, casting vivid scenes that seemed to extend beyond her painful memories. She was yanked away from her darkest fears and suddenly found herself standing in a familiar space, the cozy kitchen of her childhood home. The scent of cookies fresh from the oven wafted around her, a bittersweet reminder of simpler times. Sarah. Her mother called, the tone playful and warm. It was a voice she longed for, one filled with unconditional love. But just as quickly, the warmth turned cold. The scene morphed, her mom's laughing face twisting into one of despair. You'll never be free. The echo of that statement seeped into Sarah's mind, a haunting reminder of every unspoken word and unresolved conflict. Stop! She screamed, hands gripping the edges of the orb, its heat now searing her skin. I don't want this. But the visions intensified. Memories spilled forth like shattered glass, her mom crying over bills, her dad's tired eyes, the disappointment etched on their faces when she faltered. Each fragment hit her hard, like waves crashing onto the shore. Face it, Sarah. Do you think hiding will save you? The figure accused, loomed larger in the shadows nearby, its former calm morphed into an intensity that prickled her skin. I didn't mean to hurt them. The words burst from her lips, more a plea than a defense. Guilt gnawed at her. Could it be that she carried more than her own burdens? Had she become a weight around their necks? Are you not then worthy of forgiveness? The figure asked, eyes piercing through her turmoil. Can you forgive yourself? The air crackled with tension. Sarah's heart raced as questions flooded her. What if the darkest corners of her past were not just broken shards but pieces of a puzzle she needed to solve? With each flash, she felt herself slipping further away from coherence. Emotional waves crashed, moments where she could have reached out but didn't. The heaviness of regret threatened to drown her. I don't know how. Her voice wavered. The rawness of her circumstances plunged inside her like ice, paralyzing her thoughts. Then accept your truth. Live it. Become more than your pain, the figure urged, almost pleading, a hint of desperation behind its voice. You are strong enough. As the chaos began to swirl again, Sarah closed her eyes, taking deep, stealing breaths. She envisioned the faces her parents, her friends, each carrying their own burdens while she carried hers. Would releasing some of that weight help them all? Is this truly what I must do? She whispered to no one in particular, opening her eyes to find the orb glowing, revealing a deeper truth beneath the turmoil. In that moment, she realized the orb held more than just reflections of her regrets. It was a vessel for revelation, a tool for rebirth. If she accepted her past, her pain could transform, but just as a sliver of clarity pierced through her fog, a sharp crack echoed. The orb shattered around her, releasing a blinding light. The images faded to black. No. A scream tore from her throat as she fell into the darkness. Where would this journey lead her now, devoid of the orb's guidance? The only thing she felt was the unease of the unknown stretching out before her, thick and heavy as she plummeted into the abyss. And as the darkness enveloped her, Sarah was left to wonder, was this truly the end, or a hidden portal to a new beginning? Sarah's heart raced as the darkness engulfed her, a suffocating shroud that pressed against her from all sides. The familiar warmth of the orb was gone, leaving only a chilling void. She was floating, suspended in an eerie silence that seemed to stretch on forever. Suddenly, a flicker of light pierced the darkness, small at first but growing larger, expanding like the pulse of a heartbeat. Sarah squinted, her heart pounding in time with the light. Just as quickly as it appeared, the brightness exploded around her, throwing her back into reality. She found herself on the cold, hard ground of an abandoned warehouse, dust motes swirling in the filtered shafts of light that squeezed through cracked windows. The air hung heavy with the smell of rust and decay. Panic surged through her. Where am I? Shaking her head to clear her thoughts, she pushed herself up, brushing off layers of dirt. The shadows in the corners flickered ominously, whispering secrets she couldn't hear. She recalled the figure from the orb, its haunting gaze lingering in her memory. Was it a vision or a warning? Her shoulders tensed. As she stood, the warehouse creaked, the sound echoing like a distant memory. She began to wander through the space, each step stoking her unease. Old crates and shattered glass littered the floor, remnants of a life long abandoned. Hello. Her voice echoed, bouncing off walls that seemed to close in on her. No response. Just the relentless buzzing of silence. She moved deeper into the building, guided by an inexplicable pull, as if an unseen force was urging her onward. As she rounded a corner, a small, slanting beam of light illuminated something on the ground. It was a journal, its cover worn and soft, pages yellowed with age. With hesitant fingers, she picked it up. Flipping it open, she found the neat handwriting of someone she didn't recognize. As she read, chills crawled up her spine. The entries spoke of someone else's battles, heartbreaks, and confessions that echoed her own struggles. The past wraps around me like chains I cannot break. I must release it, but how? The words resonated deeply, igniting a flicker of hope mixed with dread. Was this person lost like she was? Did they find their way back? She flipped to the next page, hungry for answers, but there, inscribed in hasty scrawl, was a different story. They know. They are watching. The darkness waits for the weak. Her breath caught as her spine tingled at the implications. Who were they, and why were they watching? Just as she was about to dive deeper into the text, the ground shook violently beneath her feet. She stumbled, the journal slipping from her hands to the floor with a thud. Dust rose as an ominous whisper filled the air. It was a voice, deep and rumbling, wrapping around her like a shackle. Release the pain, or be consumed by it. Panic surged as shadows shifted, and she felt a cold wind whip through the area, the dark corners shifting restlessly. Sarah's pulse quickened. What was happening? Face the truth. The voice thundered, causing her to gasp. Will you choose to fight or run? Sarah's heart raced. She was standing on the edge of something profound. Every fiber of her being screamed for escape, but within the fear, she sensed an ancient truth. Could she confront the darkness? She steadied herself, drawing deep breaths. I will not be consumed, she declared into the void. I choose to fight. The air shimmered, and the shadows recoiled, but how would she channel that courage? Would the answered question bring clarity or lead her deeper into chaos? As the shadows began to swirl faster, Sarah knew she was on the precipice of something monumental. But doubting whether she was truly ready for what lay ahead made her heart race harder. Could she muster the strength to confront her past? Or would she find herself lost again in a web of darkness? The walls whispered secrets as she prepared to step closer to the unknown that lay ahead. What awaited her beyond her fears? The shadows pulsed with a life of their own, swirling like a tempest around Sarah. Each gust of wind felt like a warning, striking against the walls of the warehouse in a furious crescendo. Heart in her throat, she braced herself against the unseen force that clawed at her back, urging her to flee. But there was no way back. Face the truth, the voice demanded with a ferocity that reverberated in her bones. She clenched her fists, grounding herself in this moment of chaos. I choose to fight. She repeated, a mantra in the face of the gathering darkness. As she spoke, the shadows waved in agitation, twisting tighter, as if frustrated by her declaration. The air grew thick, suffocating with the weight of her unresolved fears. Each breath felt labored, a desperate gasp against a dark tide. Willing herself forward, she reached for the journal, its pages still fluttering in the silence. She needed to understand, needed to read the words that someone before her had left behind. As she picked it up, an icy chill shot through her fingers, sending a jolt of energy coursing through her body. Flipping back to the alarming entry, she felt the room shift around her. They are watching. The phrase rang in her ears, a chant that turned her blood cold. Who were they? Was it the shadows, the very embodiment of her past? Suddenly, the silence shattered. A loud crash echoed from the far corners of the warehouse, the walls seemingly quaking in response to a powerful force that was awakening. Fear rippled through her, urging the instinct to hide. But she would not. Face your fears, Sarah. A voice from her past broke through the din, echoing in the recesses of her mind. It was her mother's voice, calm yet firm, pulling her back from the brink of despair. Mom, the nostalgia was a double-edged sword, piercing her resolve. Yet the memories of warm embraces and soothing words sparked a flicker of courage within her. I am strong. I have to be. With that confirmation, energy surged through her as if igniting a fire in her soul. She brought the journal close, her eyes tearing through the lines with newfound clarity. The entries unfolded like a map, guiding her through fields of despair into destinations of hope. Each passage transformed her fear into understanding. And in the end, I learned that sometimes the devil is inside, another entry revealed, and Sarah's breath hitched. She felt the unmistakable grip of truth tightening around her. In that moment, realization dawned. The devil is not a person, she whispered to herself. It's the pain I refuse to face. Suddenly, the shadows surged forward with renewed vigor, racing towards her, faceless and monstrous, demanding her surrender. She stood firm, heart pounding, mind racing. You want to consume me? She shouted, voice rising to meet the darkness. A blinding light erupted from within her, bursting forth like a sun breaking through storm clouds. The shadows recoiled, momentarily halted by her light, and she felt a surge of energy resonating like a heartbeat. Within that flash, she grasped one undeniable truth: she possessed the power to rewrite her story. But just as she began to embrace this newfound strength, the warehouse trembled again, more intensely this time. She looked around, and a thick mist of shadows began to coalesce into figure-like forms, imprisoned specters trapped in their anguish, silent screams frozen on their faces. Sarah! Help us! They cried in a cacophony that made her stomach churn. A wave of dread washed over her. Could she really help them? Or would she succumb to the overwhelming darkness herself? Doubt clawed at her resolve. The choice loomed: stand and fight for others, or run and save herself. The shadows shifted closer, and she could feel the chill wrapping around her throat, tightening. As panic threatened to overtake her resolve, Sarah's mind cleared. I will not abandon anyone to this. She shouted defiantly. Raising her hands, she focused on the light within, refusing to let fear dictate her choices, but the shadows drew nearer, growing stronger, hungry to consume. Would she find the strength to confront both her fears and the tortured souls locked within the darkness? As the figures surged forward, Sarah knew that something monumental was about to unfold. The battle for herself and the lost was about to begin. The chaos swirled around Sarah like a wicked storm, shadows coiling and twisting, seeking to drag her down. The cries of the tormented echoed in her ears, flickering between anguish and desperation, each one a reminder of her own struggles. She felt their pain knit into her own heart, a shared tapestry of despair. But the light within her shimmered like a beacon against the dark, fighting against the suffocating weight of fear. Release us. They cried, voices intertwining in a haunting chorus that made her heart ache. The specters surrounded her, their ghostly forms melding into the shadows, drawing nearer. There was no escape. It was all or nothing. "I won't leave you," Sarah shouted, determination surging through her veins. She reached deep within, pulling forth every ounce of strength she could muster. "Together, we can break free." Her voice bellowed with conviction, resonating against the walls of the warehouse, shaking its very foundation. In that moment of clarity, she felt an undeniable connection to every soul trapped in this oppressive darkness. As if answering her call, a warm light ignited from her center, spilling outwards like flames, illuminating the shadows that choked the air around them. The specters gasped, their hollowed eyes widening in disbelief. The light flowed, swirling, intertwining like a living entity, carving paths through the blackness. "Feel the freedom," she urged, attempting to convey hope more than words could express. "You are not alone." To her surprise, the shadows recoiled, fluttering like flames caught in a gust of wind. "Hope," they whispered, the word laced with yearning. Woven threads of desperation swirled among them, threads she recognized as her own fears, the pain, the guilt, the memories left unresolved. Yet, in that split second, it dawned on her. They weren't just her burdens, they were her strength. Closing her eyes, she embraced the multitude of emotions, allowing them to fuse into the light that cascaded from her. When she opened them again, she saw the specters transforming before her, shadows elongating, blending with her warmth. Forms shifted, morphing to reveal once lost faces of friends, family, even acquaintances. They gazed back at her, reflections of her past and hope for the future. "Help us remember," a familiar voice whispered. It was her mother, eyes shimmering with unshed tears but brimming with love. The realization struck her like a jolt of electricity. Here was the truth. Redemption lay in acknowledgement, in forgiving the past and allowing the light to flourish. "Remembering means healing," Sarah shouted, igniting the air around her with a vibrant burst of energy. "We will rise together." With each word, the shadows diminished, devoured by her light. The warehouse trembled, not with fear but with the resonance of souls finding peace. As if on cue, a ground-shaking roar erupted, the very fabric of the darkness breaking apart as they surrendered to the light. Together her voice reverberated, weaving a web of connection. "We become whole." The remaining shadows whirled around her, swirling tighter and tighter until they began to break away from the specters, surrendering to the brilliance of her renewed spirit. Each face that emerged stepped out from the shadows, shared a knowing exchange, a silent agreement that they were all deserving of love and understanding. When the last remnants of darkness fell away, Sarah found herself standing in the middle of the warehouse, its once ominous presence now transforming into a sanctuary. She could see the beauty in the crumbling walls now that their weight was lifted. With lingering shadows dissipating, only vibrant light remained, bathing the space in warmth as it dove into every crevice. Tears streamed down Sarah's cheeks, tears of pain and relief, mourning and celebration. She had faced her fears, confronted the darkness, and emerged from the crucible of despair into the light of understanding. As she stepped forward, the world around her shifted once again, the warehouse fading away. She felt herself lifted, floating beyond the confines of that haunted space, toward an unseen horizon full of possibilities. In that moment of ascendance, she knew her journey was just beginning, one filled with promise and renewal, but she wouldn't walk it alone. The connections she forged with those lost souls would guide her, reminding her of the enduring strength she now carried. And as the last remnants of the shadows dissolved into the ether, one thing became abundantly clear: the true essence of the Trinity she had sought was not just knowledge or power but the profound understanding that every choice, no matter how daunting, leads back to love, compassion, and ultimately, hope. As Sarah emerged into a dawn painted with hues of gold and pink, she took a deep breath, feeling ready to embrace every triumph and challenge ahead. She had found her truth, and she was ready to share it. Now, my friends, this is your moment to join me on this journey. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will blow your mind. Don't wait even one more second, smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help spread this message. And let me hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. I'm dying to know what you think. Finally, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. They need to hear these truths too. This is the moment to show your support.